Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a little chilly outside this morning, but hey, I won't complain. We've been talking about how hot it's been for months. I'll just put me a hood on. So I'm gonna jump back into the story. Jordyn's journey, part four. How did we get here? Again, this journey is pretty lengthy. I'm trying to remember everything that happened as I'm talking about it. So you may see me insert some things here and there. So when I left off, Jordyn had already had two surgeries. He was a week old and he was in the PICU. This was all new to us, so we were trying to figure it out, navigate our way through the hospital, the PICU, things like that. So after Jordyn had his surgeries, he was doing pretty good. He was able to come off of the high flow and he was just on regular oxygen. Yeah, I had to come inside. It was kind of chilly outside. That wind was whooping me. So back to the story. Jordyn stayed in the PICU probably about 3 weeks. And this 3 weeks, we were waiting on his genetic testing to come back, and it finally did. And the doctors called us in, and this is what they told us, that he has what's called the George syndrome, also known as 22q deletion. I won't make you Google it. I'll insert it so you can see it. Just pause to read. This is the George syndrome. So, after we got his diagnosis, then we learned some of the things about it. It was hard for them to diagnose at first because he didn't have any of the physical features of the George syndrome. The George syndrome, to me, this is just my personal opinion, it kind of is a sister to Down syndrome. Some of the heart defects are kind of the same. Most kids with Down syndrome have some of the physical features. There are a lot of kids with the George syndrome that don't. So we had a diagnosis. We knew what we were dealing with. We knew the medicines that he would need. We got all that taken care of, and we were ready to move to the floor, which was the step-down unit. We get to the floor. The only thing that we're focusing on at this point is try to get him gain a little weight and kind of get him in a position where he's stable, where we can go home. The plan was, once we got home, was to just kind of watch him grow, monitor him, things like that, to get him prepared for his upcoming heart surgery. So we load Jordyn up and we head upstairs. We get to the floor, they get him weighed. He's in this room. Life is good. Insert. This is a little bit important. Back when we were in the PICU, they did try 2 or 3 times to change Jordyn's formula because he kept having a lot of complications behind it. We did know that he was allergic to dairy products, and we also knew that he was allergic to soy. The doctors and nurses also thought it would be a good thing to breastfeed because mom's milk is the best, we thought. So in between being at the hospital and being at home, I will pump. I'll bring the formula to the hospital, and what we decided to do is we will alternate. We give him formula, we give him breast milk, try to increase his calories, try to get his weight up. So I was at the hospital, or when I was at home, I'll pump, bring it to the hospital. They will alternate formula, breast milk, formula, breast milk. Then here comes the problem. I'm changing Jordyn's diaper and I see blood. I'm freaking out. I'm calling in the nurses, they're calling the doctors, and we're trying to figure out what in the world is going on now. Why does he have blood in his stool? So they changed the formula 2 more times before we left. We also noticed that Jordyn was having some issues, and sometimes when he was lethargic, kind of fatigued. There was a time that I was holding him and he just kind of went limp noodle in my arms. I'm terrified. My baby's like 4 weeks old. He's already had these things going on, and then he's just kind of hard to wake up. Call the nurse in. They do everything that they're supposed to. They get him awake. and we think life is good. So when he was in the PICU, they do this thing that they call blood gases, and what it did, it checks for like organ function and things like that. Well, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be totally wrong, but I think it was his hemoglobin number that was really low, and it was kind of concerning. So they wanted to test again to make sure that it was reading the way they were supposed to. So when a nurse practitioner came back into the room, she told me, she was like, well, that number is correct. So what we're going to have to do is a blood transfusion. Can you imagine how we feel if this baby has been here 4 weeks old? He's already had two surgeries, and now you're telling me he has to have a blood transfusion. He not only had one, he had two. So he has the blood transfusion, everything looks good. Fast forward, we get out, we head home. We get home, I was like, well, it's time for me to give him a bottle. Let me give him some breast milk instead. I go in the freezer, take the breast milk out, let it get room temperature, the whole shebang, and I give it to him. Probably about 45 minutes to an hour later, I go to change his diaper. What do I see? Blood. I get on the phone with the doctor, call her and tell her what was going on. Come to find out, while he was in the hospital, the times that he was having bloody stool and things like that are the days that he had breast milk. And when he got home, that's the only thing that he had that day. Once we made it home was breast milk. So we realized then that he was allergic to breast milk. How many babies do you know are allergic to breast milk? Fast forward a couple months, what we had to do then is every day I had to weigh him, check his oxygen level. Every bottle that he had, I had to record how much was in the bottle, how much he actually took. At this time, Jordyn was taking things by mouth. The problem with that was he used to projectile vomit. So sometimes when I would give him his medicine, sometimes it would stay down, sometimes he would vomit. So then we have to get on the phone again, calling the nurses and letting them know, okay, well, I gave him his medicine at this time. This is what he had. It stayed down for X amount of minutes and he vomited. Do I need to redose? Sometimes we had to redose and sometimes we didn't. We also went to the hospital every week for clinic. He saw the cardiologist and he saw the heart team. One week we saw the heart team, the next week we saw the cardiologist. This went on for a total about 4 months. At this time, that's when they thought that Jordyn was going to be strong enough to have his first open heart surgery. 4 months roll around, we get prepared. At this time, I talked to my husband and I was like, you know what? We hadn't told anybody about what was going on with Jordyn, and this time we could use the prayers. So that's when I went to social media. At that time, that's when a lot of people were aware of what he had going on and the type of surgery he would need. So, leading up to the surgery, Jordyn got sick. We found out then that you can't have any kind of surgery or anything if you were sick. So, his surgery was postponed. So, for the next 2 months, we did the same thing again. We went to see the heart team and we see the cardiologist until he gets up until about 8 months. That's when he had his first heart surgery, or his major open heart surgery. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to come back in part 5 and we're going to talk about the heart surgery. I'm going to go ahead and give you advance notice. I probably will be very vulnerable talking about his surgery. A lot of times find myself crying just thinking about all the events that happened. But we'll get to that in part 5. Jordyn's journey. How did we get here?